call this meeting to order of the Villa Park Village Board. Today's August 13th at 7 p.m. And Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Aiello. Trustee Salella.
Here.
Trustee Kazone.
Here.
Trustee Case.
Here.
Trustee Tucker. Here. Trustee Wagner.
Here.
President Bolfus.
Here. Let's all stand for the pledge, and after a pledge, remain standing for a short prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a short prayer by Trustee Wagner, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents, staff, businesses, surrounding communities, and all those that enter the village of Villa Park. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda item. That's any item that's on the agenda, 5 through 16. Clerk Konecki, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, we do. First one is James Nicholas regarding item 6. James Nicholas.
Yeah, for the people at home who are watching, just state your name again, and then you got a couple minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is James Nicholas. I'm a resident of Villa Park, and I've been a tattoo artist for going on 19 years soon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and thank you all for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm here to request a change in the Code of Ordinances, specifically Article 10, Section 13, items 1001 through 1014, to more so reflect the current state laws and regulations for tattooing within the state and also within Villa Park. In 1987, this ordinance was put in place. Tattoos and tattooing were considered more or less to be illegitimate, degrading practices to medical standards and nuisances to the public. There was no laws or regulations or health code to regulate tattoo shops back then. It was very scary. Since then, Illinois created the Tattoo and Body Piercing Establishment Registration Act, which became effective July 1st, 2007. This requires all tattoo shops and body modification shops to register with the state. Effective December 26, 2008 was also the release of the Illinois Department of Public Health's Body Art Code 77 ILL ADM Code 797, which sets the standards to which by tattoos are to be performed in shops inspected. Our current Villa Park Code appears to be completely out of date. It states that you have to have a medical license to do a tattoo. It also states that you have to be 21 to receive a tattoo, which according to the state you have to be 18. Tattooing and piercing, among other procedures, are no longer considered to be just medical procedures, but forms of art. It's not just an opinion anymore. There are various and sundries. U.S. Court of Appeals has deemed on the 11th Circuit in Burley versus the City of Key West that the act of tattooing is sheltered by the First Amendment. Quotes that the right to display a tattoo loses meaning if the government can freely restrict the right to obtain a tattoo in the first place. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Court observed in 2010 that the tattoo itself, the process of tattooing, and the business of tattooing are forms of pure expression and fully protected by the First Amendment. It's no longer a matter of opinion or fact as to whether or not tattooing is an art or just a medical procedure. That being stated, I'm not trying to come here and throw all of it in anyone's face. What I am trying to say is I'd like to open a business. I'd like to bring my business to Villa Park. I don't need people from Villa Park to come to me, provide me money. I love Villa Park. restaurants, I love the atmosphere, I love the history. It's one of the reasons why I chose to open where I would like to open, which is 207 South Villa Avenue. There's not a big storefront. I'm not trying to put up signs everywhere going, come tattoo here. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to open an antiques and oddities store with a small tattoo shop attached, where good known artists can perform tattoos. And also, by bringing that into this town, I hope to respectfully benefit other businesses around me. When people come to get a tattoo, the first question I ask every single person that comes to my door is, have you eaten a good meal today? Because if you don't, there's a higher chance that you could feel woozy, pass out, and feel sick. Having your blood sugar at the right level to get tattooed is a big deal. When people say no, I have to send them to get tattooed. I'd rather they ate at the restaurants that I love to eat at. And when they're done getting a tattoo, they want to go celebrate, or if they want to go grab dinner afterwards, I prefer put them in places that I feel comfortable eating in every single day of my life. I want to bring the business to Villa Park. I want it to benefit Villa Park in the most positive way possible. I can't speak for other shops. I understand that changing this code does leave it open for other shops to open in Villa Park, but all I can state is that the state code for shops to open is very strict. If people don't have the knowledge and they don't have the ability to open, they can't. They have to be, I mean, they could, anybody could, but if they're not receiving any sort of money coming in because they're looked at as a bad shop or they do bad work, they're not going to last very long. And the state code is there to inspect them to be the first line of defense and consistently be a line of defense in keeping them from doing business.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the email you sent. That was very informative too. And we'll be discussing that when we get down to item 6.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Frank Milbrands.
State your name again for the microphone, Frank, in 3 minutes.
My name is Frank Milbrands. I'm a tattoo enthusiast and also artist. One of my best friends, he's done numerous tattoos on me. One of the cleansiest places that I've ever been to. He's very precise about what he does and how he does it. And I cannot state that enough. He's just an outstanding person, outstanding citizen of what he does and where he does it. And beyond that, he is very clean, very precise about everything that he does with tattooing, and everything that he knows is by the book and beyond that. I mean, I just can't say that enough. I really don't have too much more to say. It's just, we've been friends for a long time. He's done a lot of ink on me, and that's why I'm here today, just to express that for him.
Thank you, Frank.
Yes, Ronald Hall.
Again, please state your name and 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Ronald Hall. I'm here on behalf of Jimmy. I also have known Jimmy for probably 15 years. I met him when he had a shop in the city. He's done numerous tattoos on myself, my wife, and my kids, and my son is here. Most of the artwork he's done on us is military. Trying to keep it simple, and it's been very nice. Every time I've been to him, it's very clean. I've seen other people there, people getting piercings at his shop and tattoos. Everything was very clean, and it looked like it was up to standards. And I wish you guys would give him a break and let him open a shop. I think it would be good for the business around the town. And I think it would be very good.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, next one is Santino Dattoli.
My name is Santino Dattoli. I'm a Villa Park resident. I've lived here for about 7 years. I'm a business owner in Addison. I've been going to James for about 10 years for tattoos in a Chicago store. Does a very good job on tattoos. He's a very people-oriented person. I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing to that downtown area in Villa Park with more brewery and Michael Anthony's Pizzeria, and I'd like to see that get built up a little bit more because, you know, being from Villa Park, I like to go to that downtown area for some pizza and maybe a beer, and it'd be nice to have a little tattoo parlor and a little shop with some clothes and stuff. That's all I got.
Thank you, Santino.
Okay, one more, Oscar Hernandez.
How you doing? My name is Oscar Hernandez. I'm a Villa Park resident. I'm a CNC programmer, and I've met Jimmy about 7 years ago in Chicago, getting a tattoo, and just the way he performs and everything, I've actually gotten to be really good friends, and I've actually, now he's part of our family. He comes to our family parties and stuff, and just here to support him.
Thank you, Oscar.
The last one I have.
Okay. Does anybody else have a comment on items between the 5 and 16? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to amendments to the agenda. And do we have any amendments from the board to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item A is the minutes from the board meeting of July 23rd, 2018. And B is the bill listing for the week of July 23rd and July 30th and August 6th, 2018, for a total amount of $889,897.29. Have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Kazone?
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Second, Trustee Case.
Second.
Any questions? Trustee Tucker?
I have one, but I think this is to basically Chief Lay.
You addressed the questions to me, and
Okay. So just lay it to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
if I need layout, you know.
okay. On what was on here. Okay, other than that, no.
So you have no question?
I do have a question. My question is the reason for the police cars being detailed.
Oh, okay. You have
So
detailed, what do you mean by,
5 of the police cars need to be detailed and cleaned. I was curious the reason why our police cars need to be detailed instead of just cleaned. Because I noticed a lot of our village vehicles go through being cleaned, so.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think if, Your Honor and Board, I think you'll notice throughout various bill listings, there's always car washes in every single bill listing. However, I can't speak for Chief Lay, but I would think they probably selected 5 newer vehicles to detail and clean and present nicely, Your Honor. That'd be my answer, unless Deputy Chief
Lyons? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, please. Yeah, that's good. Get a little taste of being chief.
There is several reasons why I would detail a police car. Number one is, obviously, we know we transport people to and from arrest scenes to the police station. There's been, in the recent past, there's been a couple situations where bodily fluid has come off these people, and it's in our police car. We're not trained to clean that. We then bring it to a place that is actually certified to clean those cars, to make sure that we're not going to get any contamination for our officers, number one, or anybody else that we transport. So I know in the recent past, there's been a couple situations where we did it with that, as well as when we take on a seizure vehicle, we detail them because this is a car that we're getting that we seize from the general public, whatever the offense is, and we would detail the cars for that as well.
Okay. Anything else? Wagner.
I just want to add a note that at National Night Out, there are a lot of our police vehicles there and a lot of kids that were in the vehicles, and I thought those vehicles look good, and I'm glad that they were perfectly clean so that the kids,
That's one of the concerns,
yeah,
obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Kazone.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. Item number 6 is first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, clarifying the requirements for tattoo and body piercing establishments. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. A resident is seeking the ability to open a body art business, and current out-of-date regulations in Village Code are preventing the resident from opening his business within Villa Park. As the state of Illinois revised its rules and regulations for the operation of tattoo and body piercing establishments almost a decade ago, an ordinance revision is necessary to keep the village current with those regulations. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Seeing that this is a first reading, we don't need a motion for it, so the item's open for discussion. Anybody has any questions or comments? Yes, trustee Kazone.
Yeah, I just got one comment. When we redid the zoning ordinance this past year, I know this was a question that was brought up, and I think, I don't know if Director Grill would agree, but I think it was brought up that there wasn't anybody against having tattoo parlors in the village. And I don't have any problem with the ordinance being revised. It's reflecting the current state regulations. I got no problem with it.
Yeah, our current code that we passed does allow it in that district.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else? Yes, trustee Tucker.
I have a question on our revisement. Why did we drop 13, 10, 14 off of it, the penalties?
Mean the code? Or
The code, yes, on the change. When we did it, we dropped section 13, 10, 14, which was the penalty part of it.
The what part?
Penalty part.
Oh, penalty part.
I know from the look of the section, we combined some of them.
We're going to turn that over to
Okay.
the attorney. He's up to date on that.
Well, what we've done in most of the new ordinances, we've used the general penalty that's up in Chapter 1, which is the minimum of $100, the maximum of $750 for each offense. Each day is a separate offense. So we're trying to get consistent with our penalties. So if you want to know what the penalty is, that's it. The minimum's $100, the maximum is $750 for each violation. Each day is a violation.
So it doesn't need to be in that section itself because it's a general.
We have a general penalty that covers
Because it's
all
a
of our
general
offenses.
penalty that covers it all, so, okay, so it doesn't have to be listed separately. And my other question is, as we go forward, I noticed that we, in our section, said that we were going to do an inspection of the building. According to Illinois state law, public health has to also do an inspection. So are we just following procedure? Is that the reason why we're also following up with an inspection of the building on top of?
I would guess that our inspection is basically an occupancy inspection. The Illinois department will handle the inspection of the facilities to meet their requirements. Is that correct? Yeah. So.
And as he goes through on doing the application, my understanding is that he's going to follow the same procedures through each department, grill and everything else that has to be done. This is just a change for him to go forward tonight, correct? Okay.
That's correct. So, anything else?
No.
Do anybody have any questions you want to ask Jim, seeing that he's here?
President Poltis?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas mentioned that he's going to be selling oddities and antiques. And what percentage of your businesses are oddities and antiques, and what do you mean by, what is an oddity?
Jim? Mike.
Please.
People at home want to hear you.
Yes, Trustee Wagner. An oddity, it's a unique item that a lot of them are antiques, some of them are made. You see old ships, people remanufacture them into works of art using latex and paint to make it look more like an old dingy pirate ship instead of just an old wooden ship. Humanely gotten skulls, animal skulls, which are turned into forms of art. Obviously nothing that's illegal, because there are various and sundry things you can't have. That's what oddities are. Or like, for example, a lot of oddities, they call them oddities. It's just a handmade item to represent something else. I know somebody has an oddity, he calls it the woolly mammoth, and it looks like a woolly mammoth. It's a giant paper mache hair-filled woolly mammoth, but it looks interesting. Or a Bigfoot. We've seen them throughout our lives at other places, put on display. It's just something that's encapsulating what something else is. There is an oddity shop, for example, somebody wanted to know what one was, over in downtown Elmhurst, Bob James oddity shop. So it's just something unique, and it goes with the antiques. The portion of the business square footage wise, I would have to say that the square footage on the antiques and oddities portion of the shop is going to be equal to the tattoo side. They are still part of the same unit, just separated by a doorway, which is nice because people that want to come look through the antiques and oddities don't have to go into the tattoo area and wait, and they're not, it keeps them a little bit separated, and vice versa. The people that are there for tattoos don't have to sit in the antiques and oddities shop and wait around. They can come sit. There is a small waiting area also. So,
Thank you.
was there any other questions, or
No.
did I clarify that enough?
Yeah, thank you, I
All
appreciate
right,
that.
thank you.
Just my comment that I agree, I think this is kind of a mainstream thing now. Piercings and tattoos, I wouldn't do it, but some people like it, and, you know, I respect that, and so I have no problem with this, so.
Well, I don't know if you all saw it, there was an interesting article in this weekend's Tribune about it, and I thought it was, well, that's quite how that happened. There was an article in the Tribune about tattoos and who has them. You're right, Trustee Wanger. Our age group, not too much, but the millennials, over 50% nowadays. So definitely the attitude about it has changed a lot. So unless I hear any real higher objections to it, I think we'll move this on to our next meeting, which is on the 27th for a final reading. So we have 2 readings for its ordinance change, and that's what that would, we'd have to have a second reading, and that would be then. So, okay. With that, we'll move it on to the 27th agenda.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the licensing regulations for liquor license, providing for automatic reduction in the number of license upon relinquishment of a licensee or revocation. Andrew Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Current village municipal code requires that the village board to take action and modify the number of liquor licenses available anytime a licensee voluntarily or involuntarily relinquishes its liquor license. The village desires to amend the code so that the number of liquor licenses available is automatically reduced upon notice from a licensee that it is voluntarily relinquishing its liquor license or the license is otherwise revoked. Thank you, Your Honor.
Again, this is a first reading of an ordinance change, so this is just for discussion. Give you a little background where this came from. Last month, at the end of last month, I went to a half-day seminar on being a liquor commissioner. And at that meeting, we had a law firm who does some work in liquor licensing. We had some 3 members of the Illinois Liquor Control Board there. And one of the items that stood out to me that they strongly recommended was that if a license is revoked or surrendered or not renewed, we should have it in our code that it's automatically, that the license in that class is lowered by 1. And the reason is because as a board, we like to have control of the liquor license that we issue, and the only way we can, if we want to turn somebody down or issue, there has to be one available. I've had a recent issue where a holder wanted to sell his business to somebody else, and we really, and the guy who wanted to buy it was waiting for him to turn his license in, and then he was going to apply for that license right away. And if there's a license available and he applies and he meets the requirements, we have to issue it to him. So what this will do, whenever we have a liquor license, we have to have a couple meetings on it up here on the board, and this would eliminate that. So as soon as they turned in the license, the number would go down automatically in that class, and we would avoid that situation where somebody would come in and get a liquor license who we really didn't want to have one. So it just takes that step out. The liquor licenses are kept track of by the finance department and the police department. They get that information whenever they're renewed or do the background checks, and that would stay the same. If it was turned in or revoked or suspended, those departments would be notified, and we'd notify the board that that has happened, that the number of a Class E license went down because somebody surrendered their license. So, like I said, it was highly recommended by the State Liquor Commission that we have that in our ordinance, so we avoid any situation where somebody getting a license that we really don't want to have one. So with that, if you have any questions, Trustee Ciala.
This might be slightly removed from this portion of the licensing, but licenses that are granted to a business that has not used that license currently to date, the establishment hasn't been open. I know there's a time frame in which that license is no longer valid. Who keeps track of that?
Well, the finance department notifies me when that happens, and I keep track of it. We do have a number of them right now,
Right.
where we'll be scheduling hearings shortly, and they're taking those licenses back.
And those will fall back into the count of availability?
Pardon me?
Those will fall back into the count for availability?
That's right,
hours?
unless we pass this, because once we take those back, we do, then automatically they'll be, the number will go down. So we are working on a number of them right now. There's a couple of questions we need to have answered before we actually haul them in for a hearing. Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Case.
No, he said everything I was going to ask.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Wagner.
I understand your explanation for the change. My only comment is that I like the fact that it comes back to the board, because then maybe something we're not aware of, it becomes known to us. So if there's some sort of mechanism, like through the manager's report or something like that, so that the board knows that someone's surrendered their license, that would make this, I just would appreciate that. If we could provide for that.
No problem. With that, I had an email from Trustee Tucker about that issue, and we'd have the manager could, but I would send that on to you too after we had a hearing, because we have to have a hearing if we take the license back unless they surrender it. So.
And I know the manager prepares a report related to liquor licenses. Maybe that could be included in that report.
Yeah, we get a monthly report on the license. Yes. Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Tucker.
Who changes the numbers in the code? I know you said back, so the police department's notified and so is the finance, but who technically is in charge of changing it in the code violations then?
That'd be the manager's office.
So the manager's office would change it automatically when it gets taken down. And for Open Information Act, doesn't that not have to be stated when there's a license being open? Because our conversation is that if an ownership changes in a building, there's a possibility there's somebody else that was waiting for that liquor license, and that one opens up, and you're saying it can only be changed from a person that wants to buy somebody else's thing. That's not open status. So like if somebody else applied for a liquor license, but we didn't have one open at the time because we're outnumbered, and does not that person get a chance to also apply for that license that would be revoked or free?
Sure. Let me make sure I understand your question. Your question is, if somebody was selling their business and they turned in their license, does the person who wants to buy the business automatically get that license?
No, my question is if there was somebody else waiting for a license, but they couldn't get it to open their business, because we did not have a license available, would they not be considered open before the person buying that business? Because it's kind of closed off.
Yeah, well, do you want to answer? Oh, we'll let the lawyer go.
There really is no waiting list for liquor licenses. Liquor licenses are only those licenses which are available. So if there's a license available, it can be considered. If there's no license available, you can file as many applications as you want, but it creates no waiting list. So it really depends on, it gives the village control as to when they're going to decide to issue an additional license. What usually happens is the village president, of course, sees all these applications as they come through. If he finds one that's acceptable and he wishes to recommend, that comes to the village board. The village board then increases the number of licenses. But licenses are personal to the individual who's got them. They can't transfer them to the buyer of his business, so he still has to apply. So there is no application list like, you know, he applied last year. What happens is if a license becomes available, anyone can apply for it, but it usually works the other way in that a good business comes in, restaurant or something that we want, that is reviewed by the police, by the village president, that recommendation that comes to the village board where they increase the number of licenses by 1. But if you apply when there's no license, all you get is a nice letter back that says, we have no license.
Understandable, but if we go this route with no notification for somebody to know that a license has been decreased by 1, that's not making it open to anyone else that would like to apply for that license.
That's the point.
Right.
That's the point. We don't publicize that, hey, we have a license here available. So that's what we're avoiding. But the way the process goes right now, if I get notification somebody wants a license and we don't have one available, I listen to their story, what they want to do, where they want to go. And if I think that maybe there's a possibility that the board would be in favor of that, I tell them at that time they should go through the background check. If I don't think the board will be open to increasing the number of licenses, I advise them don't even bother with the background check because it's not going to happen. So that's the way that goes. And like this ordinance to do, we wouldn't have a waiting list. We don't tell anybody about a waiting list because there won't be one unless they come with me to me and ask, and they do the background check, and that comes through okay. And generally what I've been doing is polling the board ahead of time to see if they're open to it or not. If they are, then I tell them do the background check. There's a good possibility you'll get it, but I make sure they understand it's up to this village board that controls the number of the liquor license, not me as a liquor commissioner. I just issue the license.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, it makes no difference whether the automatic license or revoco, if it comes to you that there's a possibility that there's a good thing, we could up the liquor license without one being missing.
No. If somebody turned in their license and there was one available, and they went ahead and they did the background check, and they came through okay, then they would be able to get a license. Am I interpreting that right? That's the way I understand it.
Well, correct, although if the village president decides not to issue the license, they have the right to appeal to the state commission.
Right.
And the reason most communities do these kind of ordinances is because there's been a case where there was a license that wasn't used, someone came in, they were turned down, they appealed to the state liquor commission, and the state liquor commission then on their own has decided to issue the license because they met all the requirements, even though the village board nor the village president supported it. That's what you don't want. So that's why you want to control the process so that the decision on liquor licenses is local, not with the state commission.
I'm just,
As well as the lawyer.
you know, when it comes to the board, at least somebody's notified, it's a publication through our board that we have decreased the liquor license by 1. So that's basically a publication, even though it's not supposed to be literally. The way we're talking right now, there would be no notification that there would be even a liquor license available.
Yeah.
There are never liquor licenses available. The other thing I would always recommend is that after the first of the year, when we have all our renewals, that we have an ordinance that basically lays out the current number of licenses. So each year you will see it, but that's usually done after the renewal process, you know, coming and going. But those numbers will be reset every end of January, early February.
And we did that this year.
It's common practice. Most communities do it. That's where you get your numbers.
I'm just kind of concerned that it's going to sound like an under-the-table deal
No, it's not.
from one place to, from one business, and then like
Protecting the
you,
interest
that
of
you
the
brought
village,
up, yeah.
basically.
That you
Protecting
brought
the
up, that,
interest of the village.
you know, he knew his business was turning in his license, so he was going to apply for the license that was going to be available. That
Some
it's,
realtors try to, when they're looking to sell a piece of property with a business on, with an empty space, they tell the buyer, and it comes with a liquor license. Well, it doesn't. So, and then they want to argue with me. Well, yeah, but the guy told me that it comes with the liquor license. No, it don't. I read your code. It comes, you know, so this will eliminate that problem. Okay? All right, so we'll move that on to the second reading on the 27th. Okay. Item number 8 is a second and final reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, modifying the parking restrictions at near North Elementary School. Andrew Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. During morning student drop-off and afternoon student pickup, buses have had difficulty entering and leaving the area around North Elementary School. As a result, staff at North Elementary School, along with representatives from the school bus company, have reached out to the village to discuss possible solutions to the traffic concerns. The proposed ordinance changes are the result of meetings between the school, the bus company, the Traffic and Safety Commission, and the village. To implement the changes, an amendment to sections 14-105B, one-way streets, 14-203A and C, same restrictions for school days, 14-204B, loading zones, and 14-207, no parking zones is required. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the second and final reading?
President Bolfus, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Trustee Seal. Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Okay, Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item number 9 is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, providing for the issuing of $8,110,000 general obligation refunding bonds, alternative revenue source, Series 2018C of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, for the purpose of refunding all or a portion of the village's outstanding general obligation bonds, alternative revenue source, Series 2009A, and taxable general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, Series B, 2009B. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. In 2009, the village issued 2 series of bonds relating to the North Avenue TIF that can now be refunded for savings due to lower interest rates. This ordinance will authorize the issuance of alternate revenue bonds Series 2018C, which will refinance the 2009A and 2009B bonds. Due to the nature of the bond market and consistent with prior bond sales, the bonds will be priced today, Your Honor. The rates have been favorable as expected, and a completed version of this ordinance has been distributed this evening. This action is continuing the village's strategy to address insufficient TIF-3 revenue and maintain level property tax supported debt payments. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kazone?
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Do you have a second? Trustee Case?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Tucker?
I do have a question. What instruments that it's a good thing besides the percentage rate? Because on the letter we received, it said, you know, it's a good thing to implement across the board. I just wonder how they determine that it's a good decision to do that. Besides the interest rate being a good proponent, how do you put it together to decide it's a good?
We'll ask Finance Director Wacko to reply to that, or if he needs any assistance from these learned guys there in the third row.
Thank you. Yes, we do have Mark Giarantina from our financial advisor Spear, and Tom Reed and Al Bobonat from the underwriting firm George K. Baum, who were instrumental in issuing the bonds and selling the bonds. And Mark, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we look at a number of things when we're refunding the bonds, but most notably, the issue is what is the cost per year to the village to pay back the bonds. And in this case, when we refund the bonds, it's a savings, net present value savings over the remaining life of the bonds of over 4.4%, almost 4.5%. And that's a saving in real dollars each year of about $40,000 in principal and interest payments each and every year through 2028. So that's really the most critical component when we're talking about refunding bonds. There's always issuing costs, and those are all factored in. But really what we're looking at, once the bonds are issued, our main concern is what are we paying every year to pay down that debt? And in this case, we're saving about $40,000 a year in real dollars. So that's primarily what we look at.
Anything else?
Nope. I just want to know how they
Sort
consider
of like
that.
refinancing your house at a lower rate. So, yes?
Just a quick question. Are we close to where North Avenue TIF would start making money?
At this point, well, we've got later on the agenda, we got the sale of a property, and that will help. But at this point, our annual debt service payments are in the $800,000–900,000 a year, where our TIF increment is generating about $300,000 or $400,000 a year. When you're talking about property tax increment, that's a big difference, a big increase. And the way the debt has been structured and is required to continue to be structured is each year the debt service payments grow by significant amounts, because generally the theory is TIF increment grows as property values grow. So the first few years the debt service payments are lower and they grow over time. So that's something that we're always going to be chasing, I think, with our property tax increment. We're doing things like encouraging the development to help improve the TIF increment that we get in the North Avenue TIF, and more development happens, the better off we are going to be, but that's still a significant gap right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Wagner.
In one of the attachments, it said that the bonds were rated at AA stable. And just in reading, it seems that our good financial footing has a lot to do with the rating on the bonds. What is the next level up from AA stable, is it?
The way that S&P does their ratings, the next level up for us would be AA+, and then it would go to the AAAs. So we're a ways under those ratings, just based on the size of our community and those types of things.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 10 is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a purchase and sale agreement for 257 to 277 East North Avenue. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village received an offer to purchase the 2.7 acres of surplus property located at 257 to 277 East North Avenue from Benderson Realty Development, Inc. for $960,000. The developer plans to consolidate over 5 acres of land in the area to build a new Delta Sonic, a full-service car wash, and gas station. This new development would significantly improve the vacant and underutilized property along a prominent stretch of North Avenue. Thank you, Ron.
Do I have a motion for the resolution?
President Bolfus.
Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Trustee Ciala?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Some people ask me a lot of times, why do we have so many executive sessions? This is an example of what we talk about in executive session, is selling a property and purchasing a property. So, and we've been talking about this property for a number of years. So, and it's glad to see we're coming to an end on it. So, any other questions from the board? Okay. So there's the, I don't know, do you want to say anything? Okay. Thank you. Sorry. That's all right. Roll call.
Okay, Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Okay. Hallelujah. Number 11, Resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving final change order number 1 to the 2018 North Ardmore Avenue retaining wall project for an additional amount of $14,798.85. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village has a contract with Alliance Contractors, Inc. of Woodstock, Illinois, for the 2018 North Ardmore Avenue retaining wall project. Proposed final change order number 1 consists of the final balancing of contract quantities as measured in the field. The net amount of the final change order is an addition of $14,798.85 for an adjusted final contract amount of $106,236.92. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kuzon.
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Seal. Any questions or comments? Trustee Tucker.
Could you refresh my mind what happened that we had this increase?
No problem. You want to go, Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, the plan, the retaining wall was designed upon initial construction. It was, they had a high-pressure Nicor gas main located under the proposed site of the Ardmore Bridge retaining wall. Therefore, the retaining wall had to be moved back several feet away from the high-pressure gas main. It was probably a good idea to get that away from that. And so that's part of the increased cost, is the movement, required additional excavation and some moving of steel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other? No? Roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 12 is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing the submittal of an application for funding for the Jackson Pond Overflow Project under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, and authorizing a representative to sign an agreement if funding is awarded. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff wishes to proceed with construction of the first phase of the Jackson Pond Improvement Project. This project will consist of the construction of an overflow stormwater detention basin and an overflow channel on the village-owned property downstream of Jackson Pond, as well as minor expansion of the existing Jackson Pond detention basin itself. Funding for a portion of the construction of the project has already been earmarked under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program. A resolution authorizing the submittal of an application and the subsequent signing of an agreement is required as a condition of the grant program. The estimated total cost of construction of this project is $2,379,000. The village expects to receive up to $550,000 in grant funding for construction costs. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Case.
Make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Ciala. Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 13 is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a license agreement for a portion of the public right-of-way between the Village of Villa Park and the owner of 955 North Ellsworth Avenue, Villa Park, Illinois. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Property owner at 955 North Ellsworth Avenue wishes to install and maintain a walkway between the existing building and the curb in the right-of-way. A license agreement would be needed to grant the property owner permission to install and maintain the walkway. The property owner will assume all future maintenance of the walkway. The license agreement would be revocable in case of the right-of-way being needed for a public purpose. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Case?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 14 is a resolution expressing official intent regarding certain capital expenditures for the purchase of equipment, including trucks, mowers, squad cars, fire engines, and maintenance vehicles, park building renovations, park roof replacements, and sewer improvements to be reimbursed from proceeds from the obligation to be issued by the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. In 2017, the village refunded debt certificates with alternate revenue bonds that will require rollover bonds to be issued each year using our non-home rule debt service extension, also known as DSUB. These rollover bonds provide dollars to be used for capital projects, debt payments, and we will be using a portion of the proceeds as an additional contribution to public safety pensions. This reimbursement resolution allows the village to pay for certain budgeted capital projects before we issue the rollover bonds later this year. Thank you, Ron.
Do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Case?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Tucker?
Do we have a percentage of what the village will be paying before the rollover bonds become available?
Manager Keenan.
I'm not sure I understand the question, Your Honor.
Want to restate the question?
The question is, do we know what the village will be putting out money-wise before we actually get the proceeds from the rollover bonds? Is there a percentage or an exact money value that we're speaking of?
The interest rates you're talking, or?
Right. Before, I mean, obviously, it's coming out of the village budget before, if I'm understanding right, before the rollover bonds become effective? Is that because the rollover bonds come effective in 2019?
Manager Keenan. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. To answer your question, how about between myself and possibly Director Wachtel, we kind of give a little bit of a background. So I owe President Bolthus and all of the trustees an apology. In the board packet, it was a little light for an explanation on the DSUB. And we've talked about this many, many times, Director Wachtel and I, and to Director Wachtel and I, we talk about this at least once a week, and we have since 2016. And to both of us, it's kind of old hat. And the DSUB rollover bonds are part of an overall strategy to level debt throughout the village as a result of the TIF3 bond issue, as we like to say. Director Wachtel addressed it a few moments ago that the TIF is kind of upside down. We've got principal and bond payments that need to be made, and the TIF increment is not producing. There's not enough TIF increment, not enough property taxes to make these bond payments. So in 2016, Director Wachtel came up with a plan for level debt, about $2.9 million annually to level it out. And the DSUB rollover plan is a part of that overall debt strategy. On your desk this evening, I ran a copy of the November 9, 2016 memorandum, which Director Wachtel provided me. And this same information has been discussed in several budget presentations along with the weekly staff update. But so the DSUB, the debt service extension bonds, will be rollover bonds each year, and some of that will be used to pay the alternate revenue bonds. Some of those proceeds will be used for capital projects, and that's what they can be used for, those proceeds, only capital projects. So item 14 talks about DSUB this evening. 15 talks about the purchase of 2 vehicles. So the purchase of those 2 vehicles will be from DSUB money. And the resolution tonight sets forth what we're going to be using the DSUB money for. So on an annual basis, it's estimated that the rollover bonds will be around $600,000, $612,000, maybe $630,000, somewhere around there. Part of those funds will be used for principal and interest of the ARBs, the alternate revenue bonds. The remaining proceeds will be used for capital projects, squad cars, big dump trucks, things of that nature that have a life of expectancy of maybe 20 years, something like that, except the squads, unless they're repurposed throughout the departments, which we seem to always do. Does that help, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we got this memo.
It helps me clarify, okay.
There's a lot to digest there. So.
I'll look through the memo you gave us now then.
Okay.
Clarify the
Anyone
rest
else?
of it then.
Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
President Bolus?
Yes. Item 15 is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, accepting a proposal to purchase a 2019 Ford F-250 and a 2019 Ford Transit cargo van from Landmark Ford, Inc. of Springfield, Illinois, through the Illinois Central Management Service Joint Purchasing Program in the amount of $61,140. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff has identified Parks, Buildings, and Grounds vehicles number 258 and 249 for replacement. Vehicle 258 is a 1999 Ford F-250, which currently is used year-round for mowing and snow removal. Staff requests authorization to purchase a 2019 F-250 regular cab four-wheel drive pickup truck with a Western 8-foot Pro Plus snowplow for its replacement. Vehicle 249 is a 1997 Chevrolet 1500 van, which is currently used by park staff to travel between village sites for maintenance. Staff hopes to replace Vehicle 249 with a 2019 Ford Transit cargo van. Both vehicles would be purchased via the State of Illinois Central Management Services Joint Purchasing Program from Landmark Ford of Springfield, Illinois. Total price of the 2019 Ford F-250 is $35,785, and the total price of the 2019 Ford Transit van is $25,365, for a total of $61,150. Funds for the purchase of these vehicles has been budgeted in the Equipment Fund Capital Outlay Account number 6550202401. Thank you, Your Honor.
So a motion for the resolution. Trustee Kazone.
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
The second, Trustee Case.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Trustee Wagner.
Yes, in the memo it mentions, and in this little synopsis it mentions that the 2019 Ford Transit is primarily for transporting personnel. Is there any way we could go with maybe a less expensive vehicle if we're just transporting personnel, or is this transporting equipment as well?
Andrew Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. It transports personnel, but it's also all their equipment. That's why they need a van, so they don't have to go back and forth to the maintenance building. Everything's in the van, so when they hit a site, they're ready to work, and they go right to work.
And I just have one additional question. Under this joint purchasing program, is there ever an opportunity to buy let's say, a hybrid vehicle as opposed to a regular gas engine? I would just like to see us maybe green our fleet a little bit. I think hybrid vehicles can pay for themselves over a period of time, and I wonder if there's any consideration in doing that.
I don't know. Did you know, Greg, offhand? We can take a look into that the next time we buy some vehicles. Manager Keener, yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. I regularly look through the DuPage mayors and managers COG for their purchasing program, and Your Honor and Board, I don't really recall seeing a hybrid vehicle there, but I'm sure they're out there someplace, Your Honor.
And that's all I had.
Thanks for bringing that up, so we can keep an eye on that when we do any purchases. So, Trustee Case.
I think the price tag's a lot more on a hybrid anyway.
We don't know.
No.
That's it. Okay. Trustee Tucker.
When you're talking about transferring staff, what are we talking, how many staff are we talking on transferring? Is that just
In the
2
cargo
members? Yeah, in the cargo van.
Manager Keener.
Or is it a group?
Your Honor, I believe it'd be one staff with all their equipment.
Anybody else? Roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes?
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
President Bolus?
Yes. Item 16 is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving the purchase and installation of a replacement emergency generator at Fire Station 82 in the amount not to exceed $52,000. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Fire Department was awarded a FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant, also known as AFG. A component of this grant is for the purchase and installation of a replacement emergency generator at Fire Station 82. The village advertised for bids with one contractor submitting a proposal. Staff has therefore concluded that MEM Electric, Inc. of Villa Park, Illinois be awarded the contract in an amount not to exceed $52,000. Funds for this purchase are available in the Building Improvement Fund account number 6750202401. Once the project has been completed and all expenses incurred by the village, FEMA will issue reimbursement for the project in the amount of $46,473 or 90% of the cost, Your Honor. Thank you.
Do you have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Case?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Tucker?
Yeah, if my math's correct, the total amount would be less than that? The 52 that's in the budget or being requested? Yeah, between what FEMA's giving and what the village is paying out is something in the range of 51 something.
Thank you, Your Honor and Board. This is only one piece of the grant. There's other components within the grant. So the grant is a 90%, 10% split. So 90% FEMA for the cost, and then 10% will be the villages. So we believe that $52,000 would be the maximum. If it's underneath, it's still a 90-10 split.
Okay, because the amount that was listed in there was less than the 52, so that's why I was wondering if there's something else that's not listed at the moment.
It's kind of nice to see that we have a local business that's going to do the installation, so I'm getting the bid, so that's good. Anybody else? Trustee
A
Kuzma?
quick question. Does FEMA have any requirements, since we only got one reliable bid? Do they require, is that, will that affect the FEMA grant by only having one bid?
Manager Keener, we're going to make
Your
you a
Honor, have I
trustee.
been promoted? Thank you, Your Honor.
Careful what you wish for.
It will not. We followed the bid procedures, and the bid, I think, was online for about 10 days or so, something like that. Everyone had an opportunity to bid. I know that Chief Rakosnik reached out to several local businesses and explained the project and asked them if they were going to bid. Again, it was an open process, about 10 days, and this is the only firm that bid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call vote.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 17 is public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk, do we have anybody signed
I
up?
have no one signed up for non-agenda.
Anybody have any comments on a non-agenda item? Okay, without that, we'll move on to the clerk's report.
No report tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Trustees report, we start to my right. Trustee Ciala.
I'd like to thank Police and Fire for their National Night Out last Tuesday. It was a nice event that was offered to the public. A lot of kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Good job. Thank you. Also, the sidewalk chalk party we had yesterday, hosted by the Pride Commission. Nice turnout. Nice event for residents and the kids as well. So hats off to them also.
Okay, Trustee Kazone.
That was one of the things I was going to say is thanks to the our police chief, Mike Lay, for cooking hot dogs at the chalk party yesterday. He weathered the heat and he had ankle and he got everything done. So it was a good event. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Case.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Tucker.
I just want to make sure everybody's aware that the Parks and Rec Advisory Board has a meeting tomorrow night at the Iowa Center at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, President Bolfus. I just have a couple things. I just want to let members of the public know that the Traffic and Safety Commission will not be meeting tomorrow. Their meeting has been canceled. The Cable Commission meeting has been rescheduled for August 20th at 6 p.m. here at Village Hall. And the Environmental Concerns Commission will be meeting on August 23rd here at Village Hall at 7 p.m. And as mentioned before, they're looking for additional commissioners. And I know everyone has witnessed the progress that's going on with the building at the library. I just want to remind folks that even though there's construction going on, the library is still open, and there's programs still going on, and in fact, they just finished a very successful summer reading program, so just let folks know that as well. And just want to remind people about Love Your Neighbor Day, which is occurring on Saturday, September 22nd, and I think they have over 21 individuals who are going to be getting help, but they're still looking for volunteers for Love Your Neighbor Day. It's a good, use of your time to help your fellow neighbors. I mean, that's what it's all about. So, just encourage people to go to the website www.czvponline.net, and you can get you can download an application to be a volunteer. And my apologies for kind of asking this impromptu question, but I was kind of excited about the improvements at North Terrace Park, and just wanted to know when those will be getting underway.
Sure, can you ask Director Gola to answer that?
We had one project that was undertaken by staff, that was the fence at Lot 51, so that put us behind about a month. We went out and we've called Julie to do the locates, and we're going to start with the crushed limestone path and the concrete curbing for the playground. Once that's done, we'll install the playground. So
great, thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And that's all I had.
Okay. And I don't have anything to report, so we'll move on to the manager's report.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to remind everybody, school opens, I believe, this Wednesday, so I think most of our middle schools will be open, and I know the high school opens on this Wednesday, so kind of please pay attention for the kids walking on the sidewalks or near the sidewalks. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Your Honor, we do have a concert this Thursday night.
If it doesn't rain.
Yeah, if it doesn't rain at Cortese Veterans Memorial Park. And Your Honor, for the life of me, I do not recall who's playing this Thursday. Oh, Mason Rivers is playing. So, and with that, Your Honor, I pass.
Okay. And next item on the agenda is executive session, 5 ILCS 120/2, C1, personnel matters, C2, collective bargaining matters, C5, purchase or lease of property, C6, sale or lease of property, C11, pending litigation, C21, discussion of closed session minutes. So I have a motion for executive session. Trustee Wagner.
Principal, I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Ciala? Roll call, please.
Yes, Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
President Volfus?
Yes. With that, we'll be going into executive session. We will not be coming out. Our next village board meeting is August 27th, right here in the boardroom at 7 o'clock. Thank you.